Welcome to this live stream. This is part of the Purpose Reset channel, hidden methods for transforming and realigning your purpose, your energy, and your action. What we're talking about here is how to work out who you really are, and specifically how to find what's really important within yourself so you don't end up possibly going from the frying pan straight into the fire. And by that, I mean, if you're currently trapped in work that's draining the life out of you, the last thing you want to do is get to the point where you can't take it, you can't stand it anymore, and you're so frustrated you have to quit. And then you quit, and then you realize, oh wait, now I need to find something else to do. So you go off looking for another job. You find another company. You find another senior role, and you get in there, and initially it's great, it's all fresh, it's all new, but within a few short months you start to realize you're right back where you started. All that happened is you change the labels and you change the surroundings, the environment. The issues are still going on inside. The feelings of frustration, the feelings of not belonging, and having that faker syndrome. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, check out one of the short videos about the faker syndrome. That's where you do belong, you're not an imposter, but you don't feel you belong there anymore because something inside you has changed. So really, how do we go about figuring out who we really are and what we're really about? So there are a few things that we can do with this. But first of all, we need to get a clearer understanding of what it is that makes us up. What is it that makes you you? And with this, I'm just going to introduce to you a quick model. And this is the model that's called the thoughts, emotions, and actions. This was taught to me during the time when I was doing my neuro-linguistic programming training. And this came from Peter McNabb. He was the gentleman who initially introduced this to me. What this really says is your thoughts, emotions, and actions all work together in order to affect one another. So, for example, if you're able to change the way you think about something, it can change the way that you feel and the way that you act. So, for instance, if you're going into a really difficult meeting, but you're clear on your goals, you're clear on what you want to achieve, then it makes it easier for you not to get emotionally overwhelmed when something unexpected comes up, and your actions also reflect the thoughts and the clarity of emotions. If you're able to control yourself at the emotional level, that means you also have control of your thoughts, and the way that you act is reasoned and is your choice. And if you're able to choose the way you want to act, for instance, if you're going into a difficult meeting, but you know of somebody who deals with these kind of meetings really well, and you almost like imagine inside yourself what would they be like, and you walk into that room, literally walk into that room like you were them, and the body language, and you just basically embody them as much as possible, that will then adjust your emotions and your thoughts, because all of these things are all intertwined and work together with each other. So anytime you change one of these areas, you change your actions, you can affect your thoughts and emotions. Change your thoughts, you can affect emotions and actions. Change emotions, you affect the thoughts and the actions. All pretty straightforward stuff, right? I want to go just a little bit deeper than that. And this is where it's going to get a little bit mystical, a little bit woo-woo. And that is about how everything, you included, your thoughts, your emotions, the environment around you, and we're just going to get into a little bit of physics here. Everything is made up of light, information, and resonance. That's every single object, whether it's this pencil, whether it's me, whether it's my idea of something, whether it's my thoughts, whether it's you on the other end looking at your phone or your laptop, all these items I just described are all made out of information, light, and resonance. To give you an example, if you look at your hand is not a fully solid object. And we can prove this because they've put an X-ray through it that can see all your bones. If you shine a particularly bright torch through, you'll see the light coming through in a sort of pinkish red-orange color, just to demonstrate to you that there are spaces and gaps. If you took a microscope and went close in, you'll see that there are gaps between your skin, where you can then get into right inside the hand. So your hand is possibly about 10% solid matter and 90% space. But how does it continue to function? So the solid part is what we would term the light, like the photons being a small solid particle. So everything that you see that's manifest, that's solid around you, we term that under the light. That's the solid object. So the next one's information. All those 10% of solid things in this hand. By the way, that's being generous. I think it's even less than 10%. But just for now, just for the sake of mathematics, because it's not my strong suit. So the other how does the other 90% know what kind of thing it's supposed to be? That's the information. This is being told to be Y's hand, my hand, right? And then the resonance part, that's where those 10% particles know exactly the distance to stay from each other and how they need to relate to each other and how close they need to be to each other and how far away they need to be each other and how they need to consistently keep adjusting that in order to function as a hand. So hence the light, the solid particles, the information to tell it what it's supposed to be, and the resonance in order to tell it how it should relate to the other parts in order to remain functioning in that way. If we want to get to the quantum level in the physics, then well, we'll take that down another route because that's going to get quite heavy. But for the moment, that goes beyond our purposes. Because right now, remember, we were talking about how do you work out who you are and what you want. But based on this model that I've just given you here about the light, information, and resonance, and how our thoughts and our emotions and our actions, you could almost see the translation of the models that the light would be the solid matter doing things. That's your action. That's how you impact and affect the world around you. The information could be seen as the way you think. This is not 100% accurate, but for purposes of what we're doing here today, that's enough. It's enough accuracy. And the resonance will be how you feel, right? How that holds together the way you think and the way you act. So moving on to the next part, this is something that's just termed the ideal self template. This is where you start before you go and take any further action, before you go and quit your job, before you go and do something crazy. First thing you want to do is work out what you're about and how those things interact in order to know that what you think you want is actually congruent, is aligned, that it makes sense. So you start off at the top with how you want to be. When I'm talking about be, that's kind of the information area again. What is it? Is it a hand? Is it a pen? Is it a web camera? So what do you want to be? You know. So in that, I'll give you an example in a moment. But the things you can think about is you might say to yourself, I want to be powerful, or I want to be carrying out meaningful work, or I want to be a catalyst for transformational change, which is what we're going to get to in a moment in the example. So let's take that example. Say, for instance, we say, I want to be constantly connected to magic. When I say magic, I'm talking about the quantum field theory, the torsion field physics, all the stuff that would otherwise be termed woo-woo, but there's a lot of science behind it. It's just unconventional science. So if that were the case, how would I feel? Well, how I'd feel is I would feel that I'm whole, I am complete, and I have guidance from the universe. My terminology is universe. Somebody else might use God, somebody else might use Allah, but whatever it is, that you feel that there is a higher level guidance. And then how do you act? Well, with that, with feeling consistently connected to the magic and being whole with the universe guiding you, then you tend to act with inner and outer congruence. Like you're aligned inside, the way you think and the way you feel, and the way you act is in alignment with who you want to be and the impact you want to have in the world. In fact, let me just move straight to the next model, or the filled in model. So in this example, so how do I want to be? I want to be consistently connected to the magic. I want to be a catalyst for transformational change, and I want to respond appropriately to the needs of the moment. Now, if you notice, this is all quite general, right? It's all a little bit wishy-washy. It becomes more solidified as you start going into how you feel and how you act. So under the so if I'm consistently connected to the magic, how do I feel? I feel I'm whole and I have the universe guiding me. And how do I act? Going into the third box there, I act with inner and outer congruence. I am aligned. I have the internal stability. I feel that I'm traveling and I'm doing the right things. The second one, I want to be a catalyst for transformational change. How would I feel? I would feel that I'm on my path to my ultimate purpose, that I'm walking the correct path. And what does that end up doing in terms of actions? It means I act with energy, I act with drive, I act with determination. I stay the course because I know I'm on the right path. And I know it's in keeping with what I want to be, which is a catalyst for transformational change. So I hope you see how these things link up back to that thoughts, emotions, and actions model. Then finally, I want to respond appropriately to the needs of the moment. What does that mean? That means that I'm present. That means I have as much of me as I can get in this moment now. So I have 80% me to deal with the issue I've got in front of me, rather than only a small percentage with a whole load of me worrying about the past and a whole load of me getting anxious about the future. So responding appropriately to the needs of the moment means that in that moment, you are doing the right thing. You're doing what's necessary for the greater good, whether it's for yourself or for others. Now, how would that make me feel? That would make me feel truly powerful in the sense that I have as much of me as is available right now to apply to the issue in front of me. Compared to how I used to be in the past when I might have had a small percentage, that is a huge amount of power. And we're talking personal power here as well. We're not just talking about having power over somebody else. And how would I act with that? It means I could plan, I prioritize, and I would execute with the full awareness of the bigger picture. Back to responding appropriately to the needs of the moment. I have that greater awareness to know exactly what's needed in this moment. So I'll take the appropriate action, or I hold back when it's not appropriate to act. So this is how I hope you can see the information, the light, and the resonance, those things that make us up, and how this ties in with the thoughts, actions, and emotions. And in this way, rather than just looking at outer goals, it helps you to identify who you want to be, how you would feel as that person, and how you would act. And it makes it easier to then not get lost in the words and the terminology. And then from there, once you've done this, it will be quite easy to then look at your personal projects, what you want to actually achieve. And this is what I recommend for my clients. You start off with the big expansive goal. That might be a huge one. And then you have an additional goal, two additional goals. Now, this doesn't mean that you don't work on anything else apart from these three. It just means that these three are your main focus. And then it's really important to then have under that, whatever you say the goal is, you want to write down how you know you've got it. Otherwise, it just becomes nebulous and meaningless. It's just other people's beliefs, your conditioning, maybe your schooling, or maybe your culture says you should want that. But how will you know? And why is it important to you to have it? And coming back to the example we've used earlier on, the example from this ideal self goes into the personal projects here. So the example in this personal project is expand and transition the transform business. Transform is the name of business. And let me just move this over so you can see the writing on there. So how would I know I've got it? My online persona and avatar reflects the energetic and magical nature of my work. Again, magic, talking about the expanded understanding of physics. How else will I know I've got it? I have a large engaged social media presence. I have consistent flow of ideal clients, and my work is helping a much wider audience. So that's how, in this situation, I would know I've got that. The next one down is to create the next goal, additional goal. It's like the main dish and two side dishes. You know, your curry, then the naan bread and the rice. So you create personal freedom. How would I know I've got the personal freedom? I have sufficient and sustainable income. Now, obviously, it might be different for everyone, different levels, depending on what you've got going out there and what you've already committed to. I have more time for family and friends, not just working all the time, right? That's partly one of the reasons why you're probably feeling right now that the juice isn't worth the squeeze. You're working so hard and you're questioning, what is it I'm even working for? What's the point, right? I get to invest more time into helping more people if I've got more personal freedom. And how else will I know I've got the personal freedom? I use more of my time to create powerful solutions for widespread problems. Going out there to start creating more solutions that will help the world in a bigger scale. And then finally, on this one, the second additional goal is publish the reaction code book series. This is mine. This is my personal thing. And the reaction code is a system for helping people to break down internal obstacles, belief patterns, old traumas, all of those things without having to get into the thinking of it and without having to analyze it all. All you need to do is notice how it feels when that thing shows up, or notice how you behave in certain circumstances. And just from that information, we can use that to backtrack to where the information, remember we're talking about information, where the information is held inside your awareness inside your body, so we can then change the resonance of it, and therefore the way that you act beyond that changes, transforms almost instantly. Because once you've changed the pattern of information inside you, it no longer brings that back up again when the circumstance presents itself that normally triggers or normally becomes a catalyst for whatever would be your negative reaction or your negative behavior, whatever you want to call it. So the reaction, how will I know I've got that? The reaction code book series is selling well on Amazon with 4-star reviews. The system is a focal point for invitations to speaking gigs, presentations, interviews, etc. And how will I know I've got it? I know I'm leaving behind a system for the betterment of the human race. Now, this system literally could change everything. Because if we're not conflicted, we don't have our own negative patterns and barriers holding ourselves back, we then don't put that same behavior out into the world and therefore negatively affect other people as well. If you're not conflicted on the inside, you're not going to go out there creating conflict and chaos on in the outside world. So I hope this all makes sense. If it doesn't, by all means, put a note in the comments. Just, you know, ask any questions that you want to ask, because hopefully with this video I will have triggered off some thoughts within you, some ideas and some inspirations and some queries. So put those all in the comment. I will read the comments and come back to you on it. If enough of the comments have a similar theme, then I'll create another video to cover those themes. So if you have any kind of question that you wanted to ask inside, feel free to ask it. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Wait, correction. There is such thing as a stupid question, and that's the one that didn't get asked. So it's less about the question and more about the person. If you feel there was a question that you need to ask, be confident that you weren't the only one. Somebody else might have also thought about it, but they didn't get round to asking it. So make sure you ask, because it could be for somebody else, even if it wasn't truly for yourself and you were just curious, but you didn't really desperately need the answer. Somebody else may have actually been really helped by you actually asking it and then the answer coming out of it. And ultimately, actually, I would be helped if you ask me questions and I don't know the answer, because that means that will start opening me up to explore what the answer might be for that question. So, any feedback, any questions, please put it in the comments below. In the meantime, you can find me on Rumble under Transform Your Work Life, or you can find me on YouTube, The Purpose Reset. That's on YouTube at Purpose Reset. And I'll be putting out content every week to help you to identify your true direction, the one that comes from deep inside you, not just the one that you've been schooled in or the one that your culture tells you you should be pursuing. Because all of those things, if you're right now watching this, it means that that didn't work. What we need to do is work at this from the inside out and not just look at a whole bunch of available jobs. That doesn't work anymore for you. What we need to do is work out, bring out from the inside what it is you truly, truly want to create and what you resonate with now, so that you can go out and find that, rather than looking at all the other things that are available, that you think are available outside, and try and squeeze yourself into the wrong shaped hole again. So just rounding off there, you already know exactly what it is you want. That's how you know that you're not happy where you are right now. It's comparative. So what you don't like is different to what somebody else doesn't like. So what the real key is tapping into that part of you and bringing that information out and having it laid right out in front of you, so that you can then make clear decisions from that core part of you that has always known what it is you're about and has always been updating and changing as you've been growing. That has the most up-to-date information. So you already have everything you need to be the most powerful and the most purposeful, most meaningful version of yourself. It's simply a case of bringing that out. Okay. So thank you for watching. If you've watched up to this point, check in the description for a free bonus. That's a course, that's a 7-part video course, only like 10-minute long videos, to help you to uncover your personal power and really bring that, what I've just been talking about, to bring that information out. And that's a course that's free to my subscribers. So subscribe and then click on the link or use the URL at the bottom of this description to go grab yourself that course. There's no charge to it. Normally it's $197, but for subscribers, I'm offering that free at this particular moment. And do let me know if you really would like to have a deeper dive into what's going on for you, because then we can jump online to really explore on a one-to-one basis what's really going on in your world, and to help you target and identify the number one obstacle that's currently stopping you from having a meaningful work life. Because there will be one. And as I said, deep inside you, you already know what it is. We just need to bring that information out so you can then build your strategy and tactics around how to overcome that, rather than just try and bounce around in 101 different directions. Much easier to find the one true direction that's already inside you. Okay, so thank you very much. I'm Wai Chung. I am the founder of transformyourworklife.com and the creator of the Reaction Code. And I look forward to speaking with you again very, very soon.